everybody? This is your boy Black Magus, and yes, I know it's been a long time. I'm not gonna wax poetic about all the things that have been going on and all that. I'm just gonna get right to it. So, my plan is to just make a bunch of videos right now that'll just knock out different subjects that I've wanted to talk about, but I haven't taken the time to talk about. And I'm gonna get to it, and I'm gonna get to probably the most recent one right now, which is Steam hardware. So, Valve has announced a couple of different new hardware products for the masses to purchase coming in 2026, as well as talking again about the Steam Deck, which been quite successful. Steam Deck has definitely been a good tool to introduce gamers into PC gaming. I've heard several people say that they started to become more interested in getting into PC gaming once they bought the Steam Deck because they realized, like, hey, it's not that bad playing on what supposedly is a PC, as Steam Decks are just like kind of, you know, micro PCs in a way when you think about it. So, Steam announced a new version of their Steam controller, which I haven't heard a lot of people, at least in my ecosphere, talk about it, but I've heard people say that they, mixed feelings. Some like it, some don't. The fact that they use the touchpads and not analog sticks kind of bothered people more than anything. But now they have the analog sticks, and I think that's going to attract people to it a little bit more. Um, and of course, they're going back into the virtual reality area, and Steam Frame is coming. I heard great things from people who went to the previews for this. It should be pretty cool. Like, as on a personal note, I'm not big into the VR thing. I know people who have VR headsets and they love it. I've tried smaller versions of like the VR headsets, stuff that they made for phones and things like that. When VR started to become another, the next wave of VR hype came through. I mean, yeah, you had to remember, I'm old, guys. I've seen damn near every iteration of VR and every phase of the VR hype, and they've all pretty much have ended up the same. I think this is probably the most, the longest sustaining length of interest in VR, because people are starting to branch out and talk about how it can be used for so many other things other than trying to make it just a gaming or a entertainment experience thing. Um, as far as the gaming and entertainment experiences thing goes, this is definitely the longest I've seen that like grab people. So, it's gaining a foothold. I don't know if it's going to be the next big thing ever. Um, but it definitely does have its place. And the way that the Steam VR looks, it looks like it's going to simplify things, especially with design, making it easier, feeling better on your head, um, allowing no wires, you know, so you don't have to like worry about tugging, things like that. Um, Having its own CPU helps, definitely. Having the Snapdragon CPU helps because again, the wires. I think one of the biggest complications of VR is just like movement, space, things like that. So this is a step in the right direction. So yeah. Um, am I gonna get it? Probably not, but hey, it'll definitely draw a lot of people. And of course, we get to the Steam machine. So what? It's been almost 15 years, I think, since Valve introduced the Steam machine concept, where I believe they were just using like third-party PCs, what have you, and just labeling them as Steam machines, putting their Linux platform on there, and then letting you use their games. And for me, I still feel the same way. Like, I wasn't that interested in it then because I know how to build a PC and I'm comfortable using my PC. So I'm not. It's nothing that's going to draw me now. But I think what has happened in the last decade plus is that the lines have become a lot blurred now between PC and console. And when I say this, please, PC people, don't come for me. I am very much in the camp that PC gaming has a more powerful and overall, better experience because you can control that experience and you can get a lot more from it from its hardware. You're not held in a 10-year period or whatever to just certain standards. That being said, the lines have definitely been blurred because we've gotten to the point now where all the graphical power and shit like that was the main selling for PC kind of don't matter anymore, as like we've gotten to a point where there's not a lot more that we're getting out of gaming. We've reached kind of a plateau where you know PC specs have hit a point where you don't need a super powerful PC to run a game at really good quality. There are going to be some certain things that stand out, like frame rate, maybe, but you don't have to spend a lot to get a good experience. Other than the extra details. And I've been saying this since the PS4 and the Xbox One dropped. Like, we're at a point now where it's just like certain details, certain numbers, like maybe frame rate, um, you know, the whole things with like reflective light and things like that, eyes, like the realism of people's movements and like these details that bring life to game, but don't necessarily make the game playable or enjoyable or run like at a good enough rate that you can enjoy yourself. It's kind of we're just looking for the details, like I've said before, and we've been constantly adding on to the details while adding power to these things. Um, and that's how it is, I think, with the Steam Deck now, especially since with not the Steam Deck, sorry, the Steam Machine. What the Steam Machine does at this moment is it gives players the illusion that consoles have given them over the years. And the illusion is I don't have to do anything but plug this in and I'm good to go. Because let's be honest, for years with consoles, we've been doing updates and things like that. Games have had to have updates. Hardware's had to have updates. Firmware for your controllers. All these things that, are part of the language that I think was the barrier for people with PC. Because a lot of the things with PC had to do with the language. The fact that you had to update this, that, the people felt like the need to having to update these in order to get a certain experience. And this includes hardware as well. Again, you can buy a PC now, and I've had my PC, in fact, since 2018, and I've not found a game yet that I can't play on my PC at a good rate because, again, the hardware has far exceeded what they can do with the software, and it's not like it was back in the day where developers were challenging the hardware the way they were, say, in the 90s, in the early 2000s. Since, I think I've said this before, but I felt like since 2000, geez, 8, 10, we've started getting to the point where, yeah, these games aren't challenging the hardware as they used to. Like 4K was the like last big thing, and maybe 8K will be it when people start wanting to develop 8K games. But I think also gaming community has gotten beyond needing to have all of that stuff to play, especially the type of games that people like to play these days. Like, I think that stuff has become unnecessary to a lot of general gamers. There's still quote unquote hardcore gamers who want to have the latest, the greatest, the best, push things to the limit, stuff like that, because they think that's the way it's supposed to be. But at the end of the day, most of us just like, yo, it runs well, smooth enough frame rate, looks good, but more importantly, I like playing the game. Bet I'm good, and so that's what I mean by like basically now Steam machine. The fact that you can just get this box, quote unquote, plug it in and don't have to worry about anything may make it a little bit more appealing this go around. Um, and the fact that they're kind of doing it themselves in a way makes it even better because people like to follow brands, whereas before I believe they were just like licensing it to different manufacturers, which again, it's the idea of the like way that people perceive PCs kind of took the wind out of its sails. But now it is a totally branded, like totally designed in its own thing that again gives the illusion that all I gotta do is plug and play. It'll probably get a little bit better. I don't know how much better because again, I feel like it's still a little late as people have already caught on and understand that PCs aren't as complicated as people thought they were. But again, if you're a plug and play person, you don't want to go look for parts. You don't want to have to research what PC would work for you. And again, all you want to do is turn on the machine and start a game. Then this will probably be for you too. And you could say that you're a PC gamer without feeling like you had to dive into the whole world of PC gaming full, full all the way in, if that makes sense. Still weird to me that there's still kind of that stigma with the PC gaming thing. But yeah, this might be the thing that will break down those walls, and the fact that it's a little compact thing. Like again, a console. I think part of the thing is people like the fact that I could just sit my console in a place where people seem like, oh, I gotta make space for my PC. Yo, this PS5, I had to make space for that. So again, the lines are blurred long ago. Please, But yeah, so we'll see how that goes. Again, it's not for me because again, I've built a PC that I'm happy with. I have a console to play certain console games. I'm good, but for certain people who want to get into PC but don't want to feel like the threat of having to quote unquote learn how to play on PC, this should be cool. This should be cool. Last note is that I will say this: if you're a content creator, you might want to think twice about getting this because we still haven't gotten to the point where Linux has become a widely accepted platform. So if you have things like Elgato hardware, while there are third-party programs out there that kind of help you run your things, you're not going to get the native hardware support from Elgato, as their stuff still is Windows based. I believe might be Mac based. Like everything these days is generally Windows Mac for the most part. As far as hardware or certain hardware, dedicated hardware like Elgato's. So be careful of that. Make sure to check and make sure that your streaming hardware, your streaming software is compatible. And if not, if there's a third party solution available that suits your needs. But yeah. All right. I think we're done here. So, as always, you guys feel free to hit me up. Let me know what you think, and I'll holler at you later. This your boy Blak Magus, and I'm out. Deuces.